Today we want to start a new series of classes on emotional intelligence. It is a matter of great importance for everyone who wants to have a life full of success. What does emotional intelligence mean? Emotional intelligence is a largely hypothetical concept that would group together cognitions and behaviors useful for appreciating and fairly expressing one's own emotions and those of others. What does it mean exactly? Look, brothers, it's about how we act and how we treat others. Many times our actions and the basis of our behavior are rooted in emotion, which is based on our feelings. Thus, our emotions are an important factor in our lives. Why do we need to learn it? People who learn to manage, handle, and control their emotions can become great leaders. It means that your emotions do not control you, but rather you control your own emotions. Many people have problems. Why? Because one day they are well motivated, they get up on the right foot, and another day they are emotionally unwell and have no desire to do anything. So those people, when they learn how to control their own emotions, will then indeed learn how to act correctly. A good leader needs to know, first of all, their own emotions, and secondly, how to inspire, how to motivate their people. So, when you truly understand well how your own feelings and the feelings of others work, then you will deeply learn to lead others effectively. Well, let's see step by step in this class what we are going to learn. First, we are going to define what emotional intelligence is. We will explain it further in the next class. We are going to compare emotional intelligence with what is referred to in English as IQ. And then we will see how emotional intelligence affects, or rather helps to have a more joyful, happier, and more successful life. What would be the relationship between emotional intelligence and human behaviors? We will examine the role of emotional intelligence in human leadership and how emotional intelligence can be learned and developed. And then we will talk about an important factor in human life called the circumstances of life. And we will see the difference between the materialistic Western view and the Islamic view on the circumstances of life, how to have a positive life, and how to fight against pessimism, against everything that is negativity in life. So, step by step. First, we are going to define what emotional intelligence is. For that, we need an introduction. Look, the most important thing in an organization is the issue of human resources. Look, brother, once you are working with a machine, you press the button, it works, and that's it. But once you have an employee, you have a human being working for you. You have yourself in service of your purposes. Then we observe a significant difference in humans compared to machines. Why and how is that difference? Humans, more than just a body, possess emotions and feelings. They are human beings with human factors. As a leader, I need to understand how emotions are affecting that person's life and motivations, and how I can manage and direct those emotions in such a way that the person can perform better and work better for me. Well, as a leader, we need to know and understand all emotions in order to be able to control them. That is the first step. Secondly, a good organization has all the factors in place, or rather, all the members function correctly. To achieve the best performance in our organization, we need to control, direct, or rather, adapt our emotions. For example, you have 2 employees and you want them to be able to work together without fighting, without arguments. You need to be able to control the emotions of both. For example, the feeling of competition, where one is competing with another, or where one sees another as a rival who is taking away their job, can lead to enmity or hatred between them, which is a negative emotion. When a person is viewing another with a negative perspective, thinking that he has come to take my job, that he has come to compete against my interests, then all behaviors will go wrong, meaning that these people cannot work together. Well, more than this, many family problems have their roots in a lack of direction of our emotions. It means that when we are angry, we shout, and when we are happy, we laugh out loud. This means that a person loses control of their emotions. So it is the emotions that lead you to fall in love. It is your emotions that cause you to lose control and say everything, and that makes you lose your love. It makes you lose your family. When one should not speak, they will say something inappropriate. When they should hold back their tongue, they say everything that comes to mind. This will lead to many problems and will be an inappropriate joke. All of this stems from emotions and the control of emotions. Psychologists say that a part of intellect, or rather an important part of intellect, is the part that directs emotions. It means that it is a part of the intellect that is directing emotions. In some people, that part is very small, which means it is very weak. There are many people who express their feelings as soon as they experience them. But there are also many people whose feelings are already directed by the intellect. It's not that when they get angry they shout. No, they can be very angry and still show a smile. Exploding, irritated, but with a smile. For example, you go to buy some clothes from a store and the person attending to you is very tired, they are exhausted, they haven't received their salary lately, but what do you expect from that person? When you enter a store and start complaining about everything right away, it's because, honestly, I haven't been paid, that store is garbage, and we've never had a good boss, and the owner is a thief, and honestly, I just don't feel like selling more. How? And you walk into that store listening to the complaints. You're not going to buy anything. You leave disappointed, thinking how foolish it was. They couldn't sell me anything. This means that the main factor for success in communication is how we can manage our emotions. Another example, you arrive home right away, and when you walk through the door, tired, what are you expecting? That your partner receives you, for example, with a glass of water and a loving word, but you will see that when you enter the house, your partner starts telling you about the latest problems they have encountered. What happens to you? How do you respond? How do you react? Are you feeling bad? Are you tired? And what about your partner who has gone through so many bad things? And at that moment, in that instant, that's when fights start here, and I don't want to listen anymore. No, it's just that I've come home tired and I don't want to hear you. No, it's just that you have never loved me, you have never cared for me, and this is how many fights begin. But let's look at a joke so you can understand it better. It says that a woman who always had many arguments and fights with her partner went to see a psychologist at a family counseling center, asking, "The truth is that whenever my husband comes home, we have very intense fights, and lately we are thinking about divorce." Well, then the doctor says, "All right, Mrs. So-and-so, for example, starting today, when your husband comes home, take a glass of water and swish it around in your mouth, holding that water in your throat, and then spit it out 5 times. Do this for 10 minutes. Ready? Very well. Is that the solution? Yes, ma'am, for sure. Very well. A month later, that lady went to the psychologist, thanking him, saying, "Thank you. The truth is that many family problems I had are now resolved, thanks to you and your advice." The psychologist said, "Ma'am, that treatment has not provided you with a solution." So what was the solution? It was that every time your husband came home, you had your mouth full of water, swishing water around in your mouth. So you didn't have the opportunity to complain anymore. During that time when he arrived home tired, you didn't speak and remained quiet because your mouth was like that, rinsing your mouth and swishing water around. So you didn't complain. Not complaining at the wrong moment was the solution. But when I spoke to you, I realized that you wouldn't understand it. So I had to give you this solution. Be aware. Many of us, due to a lack of emotional intelligence, or rather, because we have not developed emotional intelligence, are suffering in our romantic relationships, in family life, among other areas. So the only solution is to really learn to manage our emotions. In this class, you will learn how to manage emotions and how to develop emotional intelligence. So we are going to understand how we should educate our children, how we should control ourselves. In Islam, this topic has been well developed throughout history. While in the West, the topic of emotional intelligence has only been raised among psychologists since the 20th century. This topic is often addressed in books on ethics and morality and the control of emotions. However, it is only recently that business leaders, large companies, and factories in the West have realized no more than 100 years ago, particularly in the second half of the 20th century, that human beings should be treated as human beings, as more than just animals. They not only have physical needs, but also possess something called emotion and feeling. So if you want to be successful, you must control this matter. All right, what else? Psychological health depends on how you manage your emotional intelligence and how we can develop activities in social groups based on emotional intelligence. Thousands and many conflicts will reach a resolution thanks to emotional intelligence. Well, let's continue in this class. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.